Hello and welcome everyone to the Ezoic Monthly Download for the month of November 2018. I am Tyler Bishop. Alongside me today, Shelby Kang. And this is the show where we take a deep dive into what's going on at Ezoic from the standpoint of what kind of new features and opportunities exist on the platform and in the digital publishing industry that you can take advantage of by leveraging the Ezoic platform. So we're going to dive into new features, opportunities, and things to keep an eye on to help you grow and develop your digital properties. So Shelby, first we're going to be starting off with sort of kind of what's been going on. So for the month of October, what new features, what new pieces of information do we have to share with our publishers?
Yeah, I wanted to start off with our new WordPress integration option. So if you are not already integrated with Ezoic and you're a WordPress user, it's an additional integration method that you have via a plugin with WordPress.
So yeah, if you're not currently integrated with Ezoic, this is an additional option. So you can download it from the WordPress plugin store and you can install it. It's a free plugin that's available. If you're already integrated with Ezoic, we recommend that you stay integrated via name servers if that's your preferred integration solution. But if you're not integrated and you're a WordPress user, this is a nice clean way to integrate with the Ezoic platform.
Yes, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was the ads.txt manager tool that we have. So you can use it to easily manage, update, and maintain your ads.txt files.
So I know we've made some announcements in the dashboard and a lot of our publishers have already adopted this. But if you haven't already, ads.txt, hopefully you're somewhat familiar with it. If not, it's essentially a mechanism that's been implemented inside of the digital ecosystem that allows publishers to say who's verified to resell their inventory. And all that means is basically that there's a file that lives on your site that says that these are the demand sources that are out there that are able to sell ad space on my site. Google, for example, is a reseller. And so it's one of those things where this is out there in the space to prevent domain spoofing and fraud. And by having it on your site, it allows you control over who's allowed to resell your inventory. Now, it's really important that you get these files right, because if you don't, you could potentially prevent certain advertisers from being able to show, or certain demand sources from being able to show on your site, and that could cause lost revenue. And so that's why having a tool like Ads Text Manager available inside of the App Store or at adstextmanager.com is so helpful in this. Google and a lot of other partners in the space are saying that soon they're going to only sell advertisers or sell them by default ads.txt certified inventory. And so it's a file that you probably want to start implementing on your sites. And to do so, you want to make sure you do that correctly. So there's some tools now inside of the App Store that allow you to do that.
Yes. Another thing I wanted to mention was the payment receipt option. So you can now download invoices from your payments page within your account. And not all that exciting, but
it is tax season coming up here soon, so I'm sure there's lots of publishers out there that would love the ability to kind of download and kind of keep a record of a lot of that information.
Yes.
So they can do that now.
Yeah, and it's much easier. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that we're constantly adding new reports to our big data analytics, and these reports cover metrics from an individual app level up to a page level type of data, so keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, so if you're not, hopefully you're currently logging in leveraging big data analytics. There's a lot of really valuable information in there about what types of content are earning you the most amount of revenue, how users are experiencing different forms of your site. You can see things like page speed and its relationship to bounce rate on your site to see how important page speed is for different types of users, mobile users, desktop users. So there's a lot of really great information that's in there, but we're adding new stuff all the time. And I know Ohad Tazer, who's our Vice President of Business Organization, is going to be on here in just a little bit. And there's some really exciting new stuff inside of Big Data Analytics that I'm sure that everyone is going to want to check out here in November. And so, yeah, Big Data Analytics is definitely something you want to keep pulling up and seeing what types of new reports and data are available inside of it. Anything else, Shelby?
No, that's all.
But if someone wants to see other platform updates, we do have a section of Ezoic where they can go and see what new updates are occurring on a weekly basis, correct?
Yes, so you can check out platform updates for new things coming out each week.
And that's located in the dashboard, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So now we're going to go over to Ohad Tazer, who's our Vice President of Business Organization here at Ezoic, and he's going to share some updates with us around some of the new items that are headed your way inside of Ezoic. All right, welcome back. So I'm here with Ohad Tazer, as I had mentioned before. And so Ohad, you are our VP of Business Organization here at Ezoic. What does a VP of Business Organization do?
That's a good question. So basically I'm in charge of setting the plans and running the different publisher-facing teams, which is the sales teams, account management, support, business intelligence, really making decisions to help grow our product and grow our publishers at the same time.
So one of the things I teased to our viewers a little bit earlier was that you were going to help us kind of navigate some of the things going on here in Q4, and maybe you could give us a little bit of context as to why is Q4 such a big deal in digital publishing?
Yeah, that's true. In fact, Q4 is a big deal in the online ecosystem, and let me try to explain why. So if we think about this, all the advertisers are trying to put all the remaining funds into the exact time of the holiday season to make sure their products are online. What this creates effectively is an increase in auction pressure for every ad unit and impression that goes out in the market. Now, if you look at the ad revenue index tool for a second, or for example, you'd see these peaks of ad rates on every month at the end of the quarter. So March, June, and September. However, this is Q4, so basically all the remaining budgets for this year are going to be put into campaigns starting October. And so if you look at ad rates, you should probably see that increase over time in Q4.
Yeah, it's a little bit of supply and demand, and having been an advertiser over the time, one of the things you learn is with an ad budget, if you don't use it, you lose it. And so it's very personified in Q4, and we typically see a record high around Black Friday. Is that correct?
That's true. That's true. The preparation that we've seen is publishers getting their sites ready kind of in October, November, spiking up to that peak around November 24th or so. In Black Friday, rates would continue to be until, I'd say, high until mid or end of December, and then fall off a little bit in January.
So, having worked in the publishing space for a long time and having a chance to see these trends, if you're a digital publisher, what should you be doing this time of year, and what should you be avoiding?
Yeah, so that's a perfect question. So there's actually a lot to discuss on this question. Generally, you really want to make sure that your site is ready for Q4. What does this mean? First of all, from a content perspective, making sure that content is still differentiated. As you heard, content is king. Nothing had changed on that matter. But also that you're promoting the right pages, that you're finding your audience in the right way. One thing is that, for instance, that you can do is making sure that you don't have any objectionable words on pages, making sure that there's no issues with the content itself. And that's kind of key on the content side. The second thing is really about setting your site for success. Are you leveraging the utmost placeholders? Are you looking at all the different sizes and locations that you can test for users? Because those will have higher bid rates for Q4. So again, one, making sure that you set enough ads in the right locations of ads, that you're testing enough for every user. Two, making sure that your content is ready for Q4. And then when we talk about things to avoid, and that's also a very interesting question, if you're considering a redesign or changing some things on the site, I recommend pushing that to Q1 if that's possible, and here's a couple of reasons. One, some of these redesigns actually entail changes in code and changes in your infrastructure of the site. That can impact your ad locations. Sometimes tags are removed. We've seen instances that there were actually policy violations because of redesigns, and this is really not the time for that to happen. The second thing is sometimes there's impact on SEO, so you can even think about users reacting different to your site, right? They're not used to having your site in a different theme or a different structure, and that may cause them to react or behave differently on your site, which would signal to Google a change, maybe up in rankings, but sometimes it's going to take a dip in rankings and organic traffic until that comes back. So the general recommendation is, yeah, if you're thinking about a redesign, that makes sense in some cases, but perhaps a better time is when ad rates are lower, maybe in January, that's the better time to push those changes.
And so you're kind of teeing up a segment we have later in the show. We talked about ad placeholders a little bit. Jan Credenberger is coming on to talk a little bit about best practices there. But as a general theme, it seems like publishers should really be focused on their content, what they can do to make sure that that there's not anything objectionable that might be causing a policy violation or ads to not show. And then also trying to refrain maybe from big, impactful changes that could impact user experience over time as well.
Correct. That's important. One another aspect that I didn't mention before, and this is unique for this year, as you probably know, Google had announced that by the end of this year, they will stop having bids from the Google advertising ecosystem on sites that do not have the ads.txt file. And so one other thing to prep for this time is really make sure that your site is on ads.txt, making sure that the file is up to date to ensure that you have the optimal setup for demand.
And it's a callback to earlier in the show when we mentioned that there is the app available now inside of the Ezoic App Store that will allow you to easily add an ads.txt file to your site, which is something that we recommend, right, Ohad?
Correct. Using the ads.txt manager will ensure just a very easy way to implement the file itself. There's no reason to panic, but we just want to make sure that we're set up correctly.
So we teased something a little bit earlier in the show. We were talking about updates that had occurred on the platform in October, and Shelby had brought up the fact that we're always adding new reports and new information inside of Big Data Analytics, but I know that there is one specific announcement that we teased that you would be making on the show. So what new reports and features are available inside of Big Data Analytics that you can tell us about now?
Oh yeah, so that's definitely an exciting part for publishers. If you are using the Ezoic platform or not, just know about this. Part of our Big Data Analytics now provides a real-time reporting that actually gives you the real-time users that exist on your pages, different sources of traffic, different geos, and all that information exists. And you may ask yourself, what's different from GA? Well, there's actually one separating feature that makes us very different. The real-time reporting now includes revenue, and the insights here is you can actually see the revenue in real time by page, by source of traffic, and by geo. So if you want to compare the different performance of different articles right now that you launched today, that's possible, or perhaps even the value of every user that comes between your sources of traffic, whether it's social, Google, or even the different geos. That's all available in Big Data Analytics, and again, more insights for you into how you want to create content and manage your site.
So this is a really cool feature. I know you mentioned GA, Google Analytics, obviously, having managed lots of websites over time, I love having the Google Analytics screen of real-time visitors up all the time, being able to see how many people are on my site and where they're coming from. But now you can do this inside of Big Data Analytics, and you can actually see the real-time revenue, which is a really great feature. I've heard this is not an easy thing to do, and it's not something that's readily available elsewhere, so it's a really cool feature for Ezoic.
Correct. I mean, we're very excited about this, and the idea of this is really providing more insights to publishers. We know that Google Analytics had attempted to do it with AdSense, and maybe that's available for some sources, but through the different partners working with Ezoic, you can actually see all that revenue broken down by page, and it's in real time. So very, very exciting in those terms.
What other news and announcements or pieces of the Ezoic roadmap can you share with our audience here today?
Yeah, so there's a few things. One, when we think about our mobile strategy, and we've been talking about this for a while, but we have kind of polished and fine-tuned our PWAs, so Progressive Web Apps. Those are basically the infrastructure for mobile in 2018 and moving forward. And if your site is just mobile-friendly but is not on Progressive Web Apps, I encourage you to read a little bit more about that. Ezoic has a few templates and versions of enhancing user experience in both earnings for people who use these features.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us on the show here today, Ohad. Thank you for giving us some insights into what's going on with Ezoic, some new things for us to keep our eyes on, and for some valuable Q4 advice. Up next, we have Jan Kredenberg joining us from the Ezoic account management team, and he's going to talk a little bit about ad placeholders, which is something that Ohad had mentioned earlier was something is important to look at in Q4. So Jan is going to go through some best practices with us if you're a current Ezoic user. I'm back with Jan Kredenberg. Jan is a member of our account management team. And Jan, today we're going to be talking a little bit about Ezoic placeholders, right?
Perfect. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I did my hair for today, so.
So one of the reasons we want to talk about placeholders is it's something that has a really big impact on the publisher's business, right?
Right.
Whenever they're using the ad tester application.
Yeah. So I guess I can kind of just give a general overview of what placeholders are. They really are just, think of them as different tags on your site, places where ads may show. I'll say this a few times, but this doesn't mean that ads are going to show in these places all the time. Doesn't mean there's going to be one in every single place. They just give our system multiple different places to test these combinations of ads.
So the idea here is that when you provide the system with more data, the ability to test more different kinds of locations, we've seen over time that this has a pretty big impact on both user experiences and revenue, right?
Correct, yeah. So, I kind of equate it to going to a restaurant. In theory, you would want every single person to have any different meal that they want all the time. The same can be said with the ad combinations. If there's a potential location where an ad could serve in it, it might actually do really well from UX and revenue perspective. You want that to be in the system. You want that to be a possibility. Even if it gets used 1 out of 100 times, at least it's there and can be used.
So how many placeholders do you need?
Well, see, there's not really an answer for that. The best answer I have is as many as you can potentially find places for. Sometimes, I think sometimes we encourage people 10 to 15, but really if you have really long articles, if you have, looking at mobile pages, they're longer, really as many as you can fit in there, even if it's one after every paragraph, one after every few paragraphs, just wherever you see fit, throw them in there. I think the system actually allows up to 200 total, so really don't feel like you're exhausting the system or you're using too many. The more the better.
So, the more the better. We talked about the idea of using lots of placeholders, giving the system a lot to test, but, what if I'm apprehensive about the fact that, if I add 20 placeholders on a page, is there a potential that 20 ads could show on one of my pages?
So, no, I talked about this earlier. These are all just spots where the system may show ads. On top of that, our system is completely Google compliant. We're going to be looking into word count, the length of the page. In addition, if there are 5 different placeholders on the page that are all mid-content position type, only one of those is going to show per time. It just allows the system, again, to test. So, no, don't worry about 20 ads showing. We've built this so that publishers can add as many as possible, and we're always going to help you stay in compliance with Google and making sure that on the flip side, it's going to be testing UX as well. So if multiple ads are causing users to bounce, spend less time on their site or on the site or view less pages, the system will pick up on that and actually just phase those out completely. Okay,
excellent. So what are the common issues or problems that you see publishers having with placeholders or troubleshooting that you recommend them to take a look at?
Yeah, so there's a few. I think one, which we touched on, not putting enough on the page. Again, if you only have 3 placeholders and you had 3 ads on your original site, that's not going to give the system the ability to actually test and find new combinations that'll perform well. In addition, make sure you do add multiple different position types. So I talked about mid-content, but there's under first, under second, mid-content, long content. I think there's about...
and these are types of placeholders?
These are types of placeholders. Make sure you have at least one, if not 2 or 3, maybe 4, depending on the length of page. Make sure you have all these different position types on the page, because if you go in there and you put 5 mid-content ads all within the content, again, only one's going to show. So that's not, you can put 3 or 4 mid-content, but you're going to want to supplement it with 2 or 3 under second paragraph, 2 or 3 long content, 2 or 3 longer content, etc.
So one of the easiest ways to do this is obviously by using the Chrome extension, right? That allows you to select all the different types that you just mentioned, and this would allow you to drag and drop from a Chrome browser.
Correct, yeah. So use the Chrome extension to add it. It'll find similar pages on your site, and it'll end up going and putting the placeholders on those pages as well. Just a few other kind of tips. One, when you add them, do not select all sizes for each location. I have seen people select a 970 by 250 and they put it right in the content and it bleeds over into the sidebar, which that's something that you need to make sure that on your site that's not happening. And then the other thing I would recommend is when you're adding these Chrome extension placeholders, you need to go and actually emulate a mobile device as well, because if you think about it, the desktop screen is much wider, more text, the mobile screen's longer, so you could actually end up adding in maybe 2 or 3 additional placeholders on a mobile site or on the mobile version that you don't necessarily have on the desktop version.
So what a publisher can do then is with the Chrome extension, it does show you the different ad sizes and types. If you're unfamiliar with what a 970 looks like, you can see it on there and you can see which ones are recommended. So you don't have to select all, but you can ensure that you give the system lots of different
Correct.
variables.
And there's
well.
actually a functionality automatically detect, and when you're using the Chrome extension, it will automatically detect which sizes can actually fit into the given element that you've put as well. So we put some safety locks on it, I guess, but it's also best to go back and review and make sure every single size you've added is going to fit in there. And on the flip side, if you see that there's only a handful of sizes in a location, you can try turning on a larger size. For example, on mobile, a 336 by 280 further down the page. I don't think that's automatically selected because it could push content down at the top of the page, but once people are in the article, enabling the larger rectangles as well is great for testing.
And I know you mentioned taking a look at mobile devices, so they're already in a Chrome browser, so they can just right-click on the page and then go to inspect, and then they can actually adjust different mobile devices, and then the Chrome extension will continue to operate so they can actually see if placeholders are operating the same way on a mobile device.
Yeah, exactly. Just F12, Google Chrome Developer, emulate a mobile device, refresh the page, and it'll show you here's the exact same page, but the mobile form and which placeholders are already running, and then you can usually identify where the other locations are that you can add.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you have to add in terms of your experience working with placeholders and some of that material with Ezoic publishers?
Really just re-emphasizing the idea of the more placeholders, the better. Do not be afraid of, don't be afraid of adding too many, and feel free to reach out if you're ever concerned. We've got a great support team here, great account managers, and everybody here also working to make sure that everything is set up well to optimize, and really, we're looking for overall success from your site as well. So our goals are aligned with everything.
So if they have a support question related to it, they can go to support@ezoic.com. Otherwise, they can reach out to their account manager.
Yep, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us today. That has been it for Ezoic Monthly Download. This was actually our very first episode, John, so you are an inaugural interviewee on the...
Hopefully I get a call back, so...
We'll see if you're a fan favorite or not. So thank you for joining us on the Ezoic Monthly Download. This has been November 2018. I almost said 2019, but we're getting in there soon. So we hope that you enjoy this wonderful Q4. And if you have any questions about the show or about features that are occurring inside of Ezoic, you can always reach out to your account managers. You can reach out to support@ezoic.com. Or if you have questions for me, you can reach out to me at tbishop@ezoic.com. Thanks for joining us.